What up, though? This your brother Mike X.
My killers got them suits on like followers of Farrakhan.
And welcome to the 17 Winners Podcast, the realest podcast in the game.
I'm the jig in my city. Yeah. I'm not saying they not good. Nah. I'm just saying I'm the realest. Facts.
What up, though? It's your brother Mike X with another episode of the 17 Winners Podcast. Today, we in Detroit. This 313 day. We are at Poles and Polish. So this is a whole pole dancing studio that also has a nail salon inspiration connected to it. I'm talking about this is a live action, and this is all done by a brother who has served 12 years in the penitentiary?
12 years.
12 years in the Michigan Department of Corrections. Been home, about 7 now?
Yeah. Just coming on 7 in January.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And a brother who, how do I describe you, bro? Because I like to give people a good introduction of who the person is that I'm talking to. So, like, the beautiful thing about 17 Winners Podcast for me, right, is the fact that it allows me to reconnect with a lot of the brothers that I was tight with in the penitentiary. For no other reason than to have this conversation and re-spark our connection, because that's a hard thing to do in and of itself. Like, once you get out the penitentiary and you get back to living your life, and like, man, it'd be some real tight, solid guys that you was connected with that you didn't necessarily get to reconnect with it the way that you should have or that you wanted to once you got out. And I consider this one of those times for me, because me and you had a profound relationship in the penitentiary, right? You were a guy that we bounced things back and forth off of each other all the time. And you were a person that helped me to become a better individual and even a better leader, right? Because we were even involved in some programs together where that was even part of helping me in my development. So all of that said, right, I say all of that to introduce my brother, Stephen X. Jones. The brother didn't have an X last time I saw him. He had just started coming to service and, like, starting to learn and stuff last time I saw him. So it is also a beautiful thing to hear the brother say, yeah, Steve X. So let me introduce the brother, and, man, you introduce yourself to my listeners, man. Welcome to the 17 Winners Podcast, bro.
Man, thanks for having me, bro.
Yes, sir.
I got to say, man, this is crazy. It's real nostalgic because, like you said, spinning them laps, bouncing them ideas off of each other. I don't know, man. It's almost like in there you hopeful, but it's like you also, a certain part of you has accepted. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard to say. I accepted that I knew that I was dreaming. I knew that it was possible, but I knew that if it was possible, it was going to be extremely hard. You know what I mean? And it ain't like we had no small goals either.
no, sir. Yes, sir, bro.
We didn't have no small goals.
We was the type of brothers in there having some big dreams that we was talking about doing.
Yeah,
like once we got up out of
what we
there.
was working on, man, they would be like,
okay.
Like, yeah, sure thing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So I got to say, to sit here doing exactly what you described that you were trying to do years ago,
yes, sir.
A decade ago.
Yes, sir.
And like, here you are, man. And I don't know, it's funny how I come full circle, man. I'm just so proud of you.
Yes, sir.
Seeing
I
everything
appreciate
that you're
that.
doing, man. And seeing the brother Black and the way that y'all still be mobbing together too, man.
Yes,
like,
sir.
Yeah,
yes, sir.
I'll be like, yeah, those my guys.
Yes,
and I
sir.
love the fact that even though we may not speak daily, it's like with the guys of our caliber, of our fabric, and our network, the love is still the same.
Yes, sir. I agree.
It's universal. You know what I mean? Like, it don't matter when we link back up, it's going to be a vibe.
Yeah, I agree.
Every single time.
100%. 100%. Man, so I don't know if you had a chance to tap into the podcast yet, right? It's fairly new. We got a chance to talk about it a little bit behind the scenes right before we got on the mic. And I talked about some of, like, my struggles when it came to even doing a podcast. One of them being hosting. Not understanding what it meant to, like, have your podcast hosted and being able to keep it up for long periods of time for people to catch up to you, right? So the fact that that's the case, you may or may not be hip to how the podcast goes, but one of the first questions that I like to ask a person when they come on a podcast is if you remember your prison number.
Man, I knew that was coming too. Because I watched all your episodes, man. I really liked the one when you got to interview the brother Levante X.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was a banger for sure.
For sure.
You know, shout out to LX too. But my prison number was 609047, man.
609047.
I know I heard a couple other guys, they like really want to put it behind them and stuff like that, but my prison number is still intertwined in everything I do.
Straight up, how so? Talk to me about that.
I can't go into complete details.
Okay,
like
okay.
Passwords and stuff.
Okay,
you know what I mean?
got you.
But, you know, just in case anybody is listening, the variation is like so far from
The actual
real
number,
thing,
yeah. But what's crazy about that is I'm kind of the same. Like, I tell my wife, I used to tell any female, if you know my prison number, you can get it my phone.
Pretty much, man. And on top of that, it's like, of course, I wish it didn't have to go down that way, but I don't regret nothing that's been on my journey. So, you know what I mean? Everything that happened had to happen to make me who I am today. So I can't regret it without regretting the successes as well. So you got to take the good with the bad, and hopefully in your stage of development, you can see what you were going through was necessary and that you made it happen that way. You know what I mean? It didn't have to happen that way. You made it happen that way.
Yes, sir.
So that was the way that it needed to happen for you to get it.
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean? So long as you embrace it and accept it 100%, then you can move on. You ain't got to have no regrets or be what ifs and did I handle that right? No, we ain't looking back. We just looking forward because we're going to embrace everything that come with whatever.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I guess the next question I have for you is for you to kind of walk us into how you got there. I mean, because you said that was a big statement to say that you don't have to regret it and like you don't necessarily regret anything that you've been through. Your struggle was your struggle for a reason, right? You had to go through that to be the man that you are. How the hell did you get in the position to go through that to become that man? Like, where does it start? You know what I mean? That's the question essentially. Is like, well, how did it walk my listeners into how you ended up in the penitentiary? And you ain't got to tell like no like personal stuff that I definitely don't ask nobody to tell nothing that they ain't get caught for, right?
Right.
So just like kind of talk about some of the things that led you there. I ain't necessarily got to know about the case.
That led me to prison?
Yeah, what led you down them steps? What made you think those decisions were the decisions to make?
Man, I would have to say the number one thing was impatience. I was very entitled. I was very entitled, man. And I was the type of person, obviously I was a young teen, but I had this woe is me mentality. I felt like anything that I did was justifiable as a result of my circumstances being so unfair. Like, I never asked for this. So since I didn't ask for it, I can understand how I might have to exercise my will against somebody who may not be asking for it as well.
Damn. Okay.
So it's like,
so basically the victim becoming the victimizer? Is that what you're saying?
I guess if you want to say that, yeah. If you get to a level where you can finally accept that you were a victim. But I think like it's still, man, I still work with that because that's still only one half of the spectrum.
Okay.
Because I feel like it's somewhat like of a justification.
Okay.
Like I'm only victimizing because I was a victim. So it's like a lot of people have a hard time admitting the victim part.
Yeah.
Or, I don't want to overthink it. But for the most part, yeah, I felt justified in what I was doing. I didn't have no business doing what I was doing. But the best way that I can break it down, I once read in a book that it's not always, the war tactic is not always to remove the men physically or to remove the protectors physically. Sometimes you can remove them by occupying them. So there's a whole segment that don't nobody ever speak about. You always hear about, the children who grew up in a single mother household, right? Sometimes you even hear of the rare instances of maybe a single father household. But you rarely hear about the household that had both of their parents, but they weren't there because they were so busy providing to keep the household afloat.
Man.
So
That's
my parents were there. You see what I'm saying? But my parents weren't there.
Right.
So it's like, even though them being there with the material, provisions, it still didn't make up for the fact that there was no one there to imitate regularly in the familial setting. See what I'm saying? So
Yes, sir.
I became surrogate dad. My big sister became surrogate mom.
Okay.
So even though the struggle was different than a family who may not have a father around, period,
Right.
we had our shared struggles too. You see what I'm saying? And a lot of it dealt with the fact that my parents were uneducated and they were still trying to provide for a family of 7 in an honest way.
Man.
So the only way that they could do it was to work multiple jobs.
Yeah.
So we knew that Dad was getting off work. He would only have enough time to come kiss us, send us off to school, take a nap. And we might
to work.
he got to go to work. And then from that point on, then we're going to see Mom when we get out of school. And then she got to go to her second job. So it's like we all work in shifts.
Damn.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that is a new perspective, bro. I don't think I've ever had that conversation. Like, where both the parents are in the home, but they're trying to take care of the household.
Exactly.
And therefore, gaps appear.
Man, I read that, I don't want to get into conspiracy theories or nothing, but they said that was one way to keep the children basically defenseless, so that culture can do its thing in the form of television and all the stuff that we get access to that we're not supposed to have
for
access
sure.
to.
I mean, Honorable Elijah Muhammad said you're going to let the devil in your living room to entertain you one day. And that was years before the TVs existed, right? So he was talking about technology, allowing technology to raise your children, raise your families. And the reality is that's a thing. Like, I even have to put my hands on stuff. And when I say put my hands, I mean, I don't mean like harmful hands.
Right.
I mean, like, actually physically touching, though, and like telling my family, hey, put the damn tablets down, put the phones down.
Yeah.
Right? Because we get to the point where we all be in the living room together, but all looking at a different thing with the TV on.
That's so crazy to me, right? That not only are we all vacuums within ourselves, right? You can have a whole conversation with yourself that I'm completely unaware of, regardless of how much I try to be. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
And then so we can take, not only do we got this portal to go into ourselves, but we got devices that gives us sub portals to get lost in. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's nuts how we can all be in the same area but in different places.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's nuts to me.
100%.
That's scary to me. When I see that kind of stuff going on in my living room, I'm the same way. Like, just because why are we
doing it? Like, why are we sitting around each other?
Somewhere else.
Yeah.
Let's turn it off and enjoy the presence of each other.
So talk to us. Where you from? We're in Detroit, but like my listeners don't know you. So talk to them. Where you from?
Man, okay. So originally, I'm from the west side of Detroit.
Okay.
Finkel Avenue.
Listen, while I was driving here, I'm looking around. Mind you, I'm on GPS. So I'm riding, I'm looking around, I say, man, this shit look like Finkel. Where am I at? I look up, I see Finkel, one of the cross streets. I say, oh, we on the west side.
No doubt, man. Yep, I'm from Finkel, man, born and raised. You might hear somebody say 4-1, right? Or 5 Mile when you get out there to the burbs.
Yes, sir.
For the most part, yeah, man. Detroit, raised and born. I was born right there at Grace Hospital.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a native, man. Been here my whole life.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So you told me your prison number and stuff. So how was your bit? Like, what did you go to prison for?
Man, I went to prison for multiple charges of armed robbery
Armed robbery?
and felonious assault.
Okay. So your entitlement led you to just taking stuff from folks, huh?
Basically, you see what I'm saying? I had this mentality. I remember actually, I just did a video about this too. It was gradual.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I started out in crime, and then man, we used to rob weight houses, bro. I'll just be 100 with you.
Same with me. That's what I did.
Yeah, so we used to do that. You can only imagine how dangerous that shit was. So
I know exactly how dangerous it was.
Yeah,
Like every lick is about your life.
you hear me? And it just seemed like, I don't know, it just fed into the narrative that I was already feeding myself, that life was so hard and cutthroat, so I might as well just be a savage and just an animal. You know what I mean? Almost like I was trying to prove something to the people that was around me. But I'll also say this too.
Well, listen, I see you kind of went off track a little bit, but you also brought up an interesting point, right? I've been having this conversation with people that I know, like on a personal basis, but it was something that sparked on social media that was that people feel strongly about. You heard about the brother down in Fort Worth who was murdered and his daughter was killed with him?
Yeah, I saw that. That was so unfortunate. Man.
That was so unfortunate, right? Now, I was talking about the situation, and they were saying, like, man, them guys, deserve to be killed, and they deserve the worst of everything. And on one hand, I agree to the extent that, man, children, right, should be off limits. I also, though, interjected the other perspective, similar to what you just said, and that is when you are in the streets and when you are in this level of savagery, right? Mm-hmm. There's really no rule here. There's this misconception that there are rules in the streets, but like the reality is the only rule is your own personal ethics and codes that you stand by. Because I was one of the people who consider myself a gangster's gangster, right? Mm-hmm. I'm a gangster for real. Like I done did everything, and I be about whatever. But I also stand on certain integrity. I ain't taking from no old ladies. I ain't hurting no women. I ain't doing nothing to no kids, right?
Some stuff you just didn't do.
Until I went to thinking back on what I actually did in the streets and start realizing that, hold on, I've grabbed a kid before. I done been inside of a robbery and said, man, I'm going to blow your son's brain away if you don't go get what I want. And I wasn't playing. Like, I was serious, and I was willing to do it. I was willing to do whatever I went in there to say I was going to do.
Right. You don't know. That's the thing, though. When you drifting, you don't
realize that you're losing your ethics. You don't realize that your integrity is swaying.
You're not in control of it no more.
You're not in control of it no more because you have to go with the flow of what's happening. And that was part of my savagery. And what made me bring that point up is because of you said that you justified it, right? Mm-hmm. That was part of my whole problem getting myself together was I thought I was right. Like, I ain't robbing old folks. I ain't robbing, like, working people. I'm robbing dope boys. These niggas don't deserve to be. Mind you, I came up with a daddy who smoked crack damn near my entire life, and my mama had went through the crack thing. She was able to get free from it, right? She was able to quit and put it behind her. But like I grew up watching my mama and daddy smoke crack, so I had a problem with dope boys.
Thank God she was able to.
Yeah, thank God she was able to get over that, right? But like I had a built-in bent towards dope boys. You sell dope, you kind of holding me already. Mm-hmm. I already kind of feel like I want to take from you.
It's like your experiences develop the complex.
Exactly. So I definitely identify with you 100% on the feeling of like justification in doing the dirt that you was doing. So all right, armed robbery got you in the penitentiary. How was your bit? What type of bit did you do?
My bit was crazy. It was crazy, bro. It was tumultuous. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Like originally,
where you go to quarantine at?
I went to quarantine in Jackson.
Okay, so that was after they killed Ionia. So all y'all was going to Jackson by then, huh?
Oh yeah, because they used to filter you right through MTU, right?
Yeah, so I went through Ionia. There used to be Riverside. Ionia Riverside used to be quarantine.
No, man.
And I went
right.
through Ionia
You're
Riverside.
Right. You're right.
But I know one year at some point they closed down Ionia Riverside and everybody went through Jackson.
Yeah,
so I was wondering
Jackson.
if you went through if you was one of the Jackson people or you was.
I just heard so many stories of people going through Riverside. Yeah, I never experienced Riverside.
Riverside was for 21 and under too.
Yeah.
Because you was grown when you came to the joint, weren't you?
I was 18.
Oh, you was 18? Okay, so no, you was the same as
me.
me. You wasn't grown.
Yeah.
You realized what grown was.
I was hoping that they would start me out at a gladiator school.
Right.
Because I was tough.
Right.
You know what I mean? But no, they sent me to level 4 with the grown ups.
Yes, sir.
I started out in Adrian.
Yeah. Oh, you went to Adrian?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you went to level 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. Talk about that a little bit. Like, so how was walk us through Adrian, because I never actually did time there, but I ain't never heard anything positive about Adrian. So, like, what is Adrian like? Where the hell is that at?
I'm gonna keep it 1,000. It's kind of funny how you never hear these cities until you serve time in them.
Facts.
Because there ain't really no other reason to be talking
about
them.
these places.
They're only relevant to the people who serve time and who work. And it's funny because the cities that they in, they usually make up about like at least 30 to 50% of the work. In the city anyway.
Yes, sir.
But Adrian,
that is the economy.
It was crazy, man. It was almost like, even though you know you're still in Michigan, you felt like you was in an entirely different country.
Straight up.
I felt like I was in an entirely different country, man. And I'll admit, I was scared as hell. 18 years old, I was 160 pounds. You know, if you get sentenced to 7 years or more, you got to start out in level 4 regardless.
Yes, sir.
Until you got 7 years or less, or until you get 3 years in.
Yes, sir.
I was serving 10 years, so I knew I had to do 3. You dig what I'm saying? And being 160 pounds and looking at these just grown men and guys that have been working out for the last 20 years straight.
Looking crazy.
Yeah, literally looking like they chiseled out of stone. Like, it most certainly took some adapting.
Yes, sir.
It took some adapting. Even when you brace yourself and hear about it, and somebody, it don't nothing prepare you for how it feel getting processed like cattle. You dig what I'm saying? And then seeing other cattle and realizing, like, you gotta get your weight up.
What was the scariest thing? Was it the actual, like, prisoners, or what? Like, what was the thing that made you the most fearful when you went in?
I would say just not knowing. Not knowing what to expect. Not knowing the routine. Not knowing the actual rules and policies of the facility, and not knowing the unwritten rules of the convicts.
Yes, sir.
You see what I'm saying? And you're aware that they're there because you notice that even though things may not seem organized, they're very organized. You know what I mean? You see the intention put into making it look unorganized.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, nah, it's only... Anyway, but the point that I'm making is it was just not knowing, being completely unaware, and going from society to being put into this hostile environment.
So let me ask you this. That fear of not knowing, right? How did that first time on the yard feel or change that, if it did at all?
Man, how could I explain that? Do you remember, like, the first time you got on a roller coaster?
Mm-hmm.
How you slowly building up to this height, and it's like it's still don't register to you. It's finna go down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's finna go down.
Till it's going down. It's like no matter how much you try to brace and prepare for it, it just happens. You dig what I'm saying? And that's how I felt walking out on the yard every day that I was in prison.
Straight up?
Every single day, man. Because the one day when you do let your guard down, and it may be something not even concerning you. You may just be too close to the wrong dude, and you weren't paying attention, and, you know.
That's facts. That's facts.
Yeah,
I got a homeboy who actually got stabbed on accident, but I like that.
It happened a lot more than you think.
Yeah, we just at
being in the
Bellamy
way.
Creek. My dog, we just walking, but he had on the same. What's crazy is how they identified him. They identified him by his brown Dickie jacket and his braids. Who don't have brown
I was
Dickie
just gonna
jackets
say,
and
that's
braids and
every
popped
black
him?
guy.
Yeah, and they popped him, man. Once they swung the knife and he got the scrapping back, they realized it was the wrong guy, and they ended up having to pay him a few dollars and all that type of stuff. But yeah, I've seen guys get, and he wasn't the only one I seen happen. It happens more.
It happened a lot because you got to remember, most of the guys that be in those predicaments, only a certain few guys was actual sharks,
Right,
who knew what they were doing and going to carry out what they were trying to execute.
right.
Most of those guys were manipulated, trying to be down, trying to prove themselves. They nervous and scared as hell.
Yes,
they
sir.
really just want to do something to anybody so they can be like, I did it.
I did it. Yeah.
It's over with. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
So it's like, nah, you got the wrong dude. Man.
Yes, sir.
Now you got to get off the yard.
100%. 100%. Yeah, that's 100%. And so the thing for me, right? I kind of felt that same fear of the unknown until I got on the yard.
Yeah.
When I got on the yard, bro, it was like everybody that I ain't seen in the streets for a while was here.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It was like reunion.
Yeah.
Everybody that was in juvenile with me, I was bumping into them like, oh, this where you been? Mm-hmm. Yeah, this where you.
The funniest thing about knuckleheads, man, is like it's a knucklehead network. The knuckleheads always seem to stay in contact with each other, and eventually we end up where knuckleheads go.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
If you're lucky.
That's for sure. 100%.
Man.
So, like, how would you describe your time in? Was it productive?
I would say initially it started out rough, man, because I was gang banging. And I was trying to be, the biggest, the
Oh, so you
baddest.
came in with the squad.
Yeah,
Okay.
I had something to prove. It gave me something to do, trying to build myself up through the ranks. But as you start to grow older, your values change, your experiences change, your perspective change. And the one thing that changed everything for me was when I lost my little brother.
That's what I was just about to ask. Like, was there an aha moment? Was there ever a thing that just made you decide that this ain't that?
Listen, when I tell you that I had accepted that I was going to live an entire life of gangsterism, right? Like, I was one of them dudes that was like,
This it.
this is it. This is something I'm good at. I thrive at this. You dig what I'm saying? Why would I want to do anything else? I just need to figure out how to do it smarter. You know what I mean? I was just disillusioning myself because I hadn't seen any example of somebody accomplishing greater. So I told myself I didn't need to. But I was really just, that was me once again rebelling at my circumstances and feeling that woe is me, mentality.
So as far as the gangs go, what was your perspective of like gang life in the penitentiary? Because I think you might be the first guy I had on here that said that they was like banging active. No, I had one other brother that said that, but he like had a shorter bit. Mm-hmm. So like your perspective of gang life coming in with a longer bit and seeing level 4, how was that for you? Because
man, you want to know something? I would say gang cultures probably taught me the most.
okay,
It taught me the most because it exposed me to other men intimately. No diddy.
okay, no,
But
no diddy.
yeah, it exposed me to other men. Listen, it's
In what way?
it was always responsibility. You know what I mean? I really suffered from imposter syndrome because it seemed like no matter what endeavor I would, pursue, I would always end up in a position of leadership. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I would always end up with a lot of responsibility. So with that responsibility, like a lot of brothers would always come to me for advice or for guidance or, just to be in my presence. And I remember feeling like I wasn't the dude that they thought I was. Like, because I couldn't explain why it worked that way. I come to later find out that it was the relationship that I had with my father and the way that he fathered me that educated me on how to deal with other men because it was so normal with me and him.
Yeah.
So a lot of other men didn't have that.
Yeah.
So they didn't have nobody who knew how to talk to him or who knew how to talk to the boy in them because I was just imitating my dad because ultimately I was scared. You see what I'm saying? So I could only rely on the only form of strength that I had ever seen, and that was my dad. You dig what I'm saying? But yeah, man.
How was your dad when you was doing your bit? Like how did he handle that? How did he handle you? How did y'all relationship?
My dad is a man's man. So, he made sure I had money on my books. He made sure that my mom was always, that the vehicles was always in good working order.
To be able to get the visit?
Yeah, you can't, ain't none of the prisons, it's only 2 prisons that's down around the corner. Other than that, you're going to have to take a trip.
Yeah.
So he made sure that the vehicles was always in good working order. He made sure she always had money to get up here. He always made sure she had commissary. But as far as coming up here, he came to see me a lot in the beginning. But he told me like, I didn't sign up for this.
Yeah.
I did what I was supposed to do. I followed you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This was something that you wanted.
So decided to do for yourself.
Right. So I support you. I don't want you to feel abandoned.
Like you ain't got no love. Your daddy love you.
But you're not about to imprison me too.
Yeah, that's real.
And I understood it. It's like part of me didn't want to, but it's like, you know what? I get it.
Right?
Yeah.
Damn. Yeah, man. Hey, that's a different perspective, dog. Because I couldn't imagine, even like when I'm thinking about my little boys, like I'm like, man, I can't imagine them going to the joint or what I would feel like after doing all of the work that I'm doing to be the father that I'm working to be. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So like, damn. And you decided this what you came up with?
Man, he was hurt, bro.
Yeah.
He was real hurt, man.
But you said something about your gang life that stood out to me, and that was everybody kept coming to you for leadership, for guidance, for this, for that. At that time, did you recognize that was leadership in you? Or was it just like, man, why these niggas? All right, man, I'll handle it.
It was 2 things that happened that really brought it to my attention. I remember the first thing that happened was I had transferred facilities, and I finally got to Macomb. So it's like, that's a big deal.
Yeah,
when you're from Detroit.
Yes, it is. If you just black.
Yeah, you know what I mean? You 45.
I was trying to get to Macomb for 15 years.
So I got there, man, and I was game banging at the time, and that was like one of the locations where we had the most amount of brothers on count.
Okay.
So I had a lot of soldiers there. I had a lot of power there at that facility.
Okay.
And I remember going out on a visit, and my sister's boyfriend had accompanied her to visit me. You know what I mean? At that time, anybody can come.
Come on.
Please. You know what I mean? Just bring some money for the vending machine.
For sure. For sure.
Right? And I remember I was out there bragging to him. You know what I mean? Because I was out there on a visit, and I had a few other brothers out there on a visit. And I'm telling them, like, yeah, like, we deep here. We run shit. Everything go through us. And watch what happened when you know what I mean?
Yeah.
These little kid games we was doing. And I remember he told me, like, that's cool and all, man. But I don't know. I don't want to knock you off your high chair. Nothing. I figured you was a lot more. I thought you was capable of a lot more.
That's what he hit you with?
I was like, what? Like, that's cool and all, but like, that's some little shit. I thought like you was gonna really touch people and help people, and
damn,
that's what I saw for you, bro. But if you happy with this, then I'm happy for you, bro. That's how he did me. He little bro me.
That was a good one.
Listen, and that was the first time that made me reflect.
Okay.
I didn't have no problem being farsighted. I was always a planner. I always had goals. I had a hard time seeing myself. You know what I mean? And just like how we was talking about earlier, that's what I had forgot to say, was that it seemed like the hardest part is to admit you're the bad guy. Don't nobody want to be the bad guy. When you watch the movie, you just automatically align with the good guy.
Right.
I knew something was kind of off because I was always rooting for the bad dude.
Huh.
You know what I mean? And then that's when I realized that I was projecting. I was rooting for the bad dude because I identified with him.
So you said losing bro was the change, right? But how so? Like, what happened?
Man, this is gonna sound crazy, right? But keep in mind, I was in my youth. I wasn't smart at the time. I wasn't awake at the time. But when I lost my little brother, I wanted vengeance. I wanted retaliation. I wanted every single brother who knew who I was, who banged my color, who banged my flag. I wanted them to find out what happened to my brother and destroy everybody who was attached to it. That's what my conversation was. With nobody trying to do that, it really wasn't nothing for us to talk about. And one of the things that came to my attention was I wasn't as powerful as I thought I was. I didn't have as much juice or pull or influence as I thought I was. I was actually drinking my own juice. You see what I'm saying? Believing my own hype.
Yeah.
And once I realized that my reach was only as far as those prison walls, I asked myself, well, what would I have to show once I'm out of prison? If prison still exists in you, then it's only a matter of time before you return.
For sure.
So I didn't want that shit in me no more. You know what I mean? But I knew it was going to be a process. I couldn't just sign a resignation.
Right.
You know what I mean? It was going to be a process, and I had to prove to the men that I led and adopted into this lifestyle that it was time to go.
Man, please walk us through that. Like what? Because, and I say that because on one hand, my listeners probably will be interested in like somebody talking about the transition they made from like gangbanging life to doing more positive things, right? But besides that, I facilitate a class down in Lansing of 18 to 24-year-olds, right? And part of the class is about transitioning from the street life into doing positive things, right? And I struggle, if I'm being honest, I struggle with certain aspects of the class because I know the reality is these tools that I'm giving you ain't gonna change your life tomorrow. It's a 6-week class. By the time these 6 weeks over with, bro, you ain't gonna be out of your condition. You're gonna still have to go home. The ops still might be looking for you. So like giving them tools and ways in which I have been able to transition, I like to do that, but hearing from you may be able to help enlighten me as to different ways that I can tell them. You know what I'm saying? So like what was some of the transitional things that you had to do?
I'll say like, I think as far as the brothers who've had made the change, right? One of the hardest parts is sorry, man. So
Yeah, take your time, bro. I ain't on no clock.
it's like we all go through this period of denial when you start to change, when you start to feel different, when you start to mature, when you start to think about the future, when you start to think about your children, marriage, grandchildren, and then you gotta figure out where that shit fit in at. You see what I'm saying? And I thought to myself, like, is this something that I would proudly teach to my children? Yeah, if you would have caught me 3, 4, 5 years earlier, I probably would have. But as I started to mature, I realized that I was embarrassed of some of the shit that I had done or some of the shit that I was allowing. You know what I mean? So I feel like this denial part is you feel like you can be the change. Like you can change everybody. And that's what I tried to do for a few years. You know what I mean? Actually, man, the same year I lost my brother, it was in 2012. I think that was the same year that Trayvon Martin got killed, right?
I believe so.
And I was watching Fox 2 News in the rec room. And I remember, I'm watching Fox. It's very conservative, right? And I I remember they showed some statistics because people were in outrage that this little boy got killed. And they were saying, well, where was all the outrage when this was happening and this was happening? And they showed the murder rate for the United States. And I think that like 96% of the murders was black on black crime. And I remember watching that, feeling that I was attached to something that was contributing to that. I felt for the first time like, shit, I'm the bad guy. I'm not the good guy. I'm not the guy that's supposed to win at the end of this movie. I'm the guy that really need to go away. And it's like I became self-conscious of that. How everything that I was promoting and what I was doing was leading ultimately to death. It was to death. Whether it was directly or indirectly, it wasn't promoting life. It wasn't promoting growth. It was promoting death. So it's like once the transition happens inside of me, now you try to take what you've done so much bad with, because your guilt, and you want to use that as the same instrument to do your good.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can't contaminate it. You can't mix it like that.
Right.
And you done built up an expectation. You see what I'm saying? These brothers don't know who the hell Steve X is. They know Rip. You see what I'm saying?
Rip, that's right.
Yeah, they want to deal with Rip.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Rip
sir.
lived by a whole different set of codes, a whole different set of philosophies. With Rip, a lot of shit was okay that's not going to be okay with Steve X. And what happened is you're changing, but you're stuck in a same controlled environment that's not changing.
Yeah, yes, sir.
So you try to use this juice and influence you think you have to make this into the utopia or the paradise that you envision for your black people.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
But you come to the stark reality that the system that you're trying to change, it's going to take more than you. You know what I mean? And you got to really be committed to the change. You can't do it from within it. You got to step out of it.
You got to get away.
And utilize your inside intelligence to reach the brothers that you used to once lead.
Yes, sir.
You speak their language. But I feel like you got to be for real.
You have to be.
Because if you get out and you stay away for too long, you don't speak the lingo no more. Your juice is not as effective.
And you can't get back in like you thought you could.
You only got OG status for so long before eventually the rules change and there's no reason for them to listen to you.
Yep. That's real. That's real. Man. 2012. That's funny because that's, I think, the year that I met you around because in 2011 is when I went back to court and I came down to JCS. And I stayed down at JCS for about a year before I got rolled out the first time. Remember that? Was you there when I got rolled out when we got caught with the weed and stuff?
Yep.
And then I came back and stayed there for another year and walked Sydney out of prison.
Yep.
And then I did my last year there. So yeah, I met you during your transition.
Exactly.
That's deep.
So with that, it's politics at play. It's politics at play. And when you create a certain infrastructure and you try to put yourself out of it, and then the rapport that you build with other organizations, it's like you get pulled into it.
Yeah.
So many times I tried to stop and kept, but yet here I was. And it's like the other brothers, they can detect it. They can feel that. You know what I mean? But what I will say, like if it's somebody that's gang banging and they feel like they're stuck or they want to be different, like you knew what it took to get into it. You knew what it took to get in. And sometimes I'm not justifying it, but I'm saying that for me at least, I had to be willing to face that going out.
Yes, sir. That makes sense.
And you got to be okay with some brothers is going to be cool with you. They still going to like you. They still going to have love for you. They still going to respect you. Some brothers is never going to see you
they not
again.
going to mess with you.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And
like you a traitor.
You got to be okay with that because
yes, sir.
Your first instinct, if you did this and this was you, is to defend this. Or it's like, no, man, you got to put that behind you and stand on the change.
Yes, sir.
That's what they don't want to see. It's a lot of guys that say that they standing for change
and fold.
and fold.
Yes, sir.
Like, no, you were just looking for a way out.
You was just looking for a way out. You was just looking because it got a little hot. You didn't want to deal with the heat at that time. Yeah, it is. So the other thing I will ask you is, why do guys join religions in the joint? Now, I ask you that because people ask me that, right? Females be like, why everybody be a Muslim in the joint?
Yeah, they say you go in prison and you either come out of blood or a Muslim.
All right.
Right.
So why? Why you think that is?
I can't speak for the gang thing, man, because I feel like, that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
But as far as the religious thing, because I walk that path too, I feel like what's happening is that everybody is going through a rite of passage. Everybody is, whether you want to or not. And I just feel like some guys fail and some guys make it through. And I feel like at every stage in your life, in your development, it's not like you just go through one rite of passage. It's a rite of passage at every stage. So I felt like the gang banging, I needed that. That was the only way I was going to get those lessons that I had to go through when I was banging with the brothers.
Yeah.
You dig what I'm saying? And being able to see myself in that form too.
Yeah.
Because this is my identity now. You know what I mean? I don't see myself as, I've led men. I've led men into war. I've led men through wars. And I've proven that they can count on me. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? So this is how I see myself. I keep losing myself.
It's all right. Listen, because you said something else, bro. You was like, these things that you do in here. What were you saying? You was talking about the power that you had in prison, and I wanted to stop you then, but I wanted to let you get your complete thoughts. So I'm glad you took a break there, a pause there, because it brought back my ability to talk about that point. That point was you was telling bro on the visit how much power you had in the joint. And you talked about how you realized that it wasn't no power. But like I want to talk about that a little bit more, right? Because in the penitentiary, we be doing some high power shit.
You ain't lying, bro.
In our mind, right? We be doing some
swear.
Right? So like guys be on the yard and covering their mouth when they talk and like walking laps and to an extent it's necessary, right? Because we are making moves. Like I done seen guys make some real money in the penitentiary, getting bags and manipulating officers and all type of stuff, right?
Yeah, get deep.
But I'll never forget a brother told me them same plays you run in the penitentiary will get you killed in the street. And it clicked to me when I actually got to the street what that meant. Because in the penitentiary, that power you got, right? I'm Mike X in the penitentiary. So in the penitentiary, if you don't like Mike X, you damn near got to keep your mouth shut about not liking Mike X. Because it ain't nothing you can do about it. Yeah. Because if you try to do something about it, you got to go through not just me and my people that mess with me, but your own organization may stop you and may fold you up about what you try to do to Mike X because of the stance that Mike X has on the yard. Mm-hmm. Out here, these little boys don't give a damn about you, and they'll just come out and catch you and just knock you down. Yep. And they ain't got to get no permission. Nobody may ever know that they did it. Mm-hmm. And if you're running these top secret plays and you got all of these mind games you playing with guys in the street, these niggas ain't got no emotional intelligence or discipline, or nobody's controlling them. Man. They will just smoke you. So them plays them diabolical thinking plays you running on the guy be done got fed up and just smoke you.
You too damn smart for your own good.
Yes, sir.
You're too smart for your own good. Now you think that you can outthink every circumstance and situation.
No, you cannot. Like, this is still life out here.
It's like you possibly could. But you got to take responsibility for thinking yourself into the predicament that you're currently in.
Yes, sir.
You might not get a chance out of that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You might not get a chance out of that one, man.
So tell me about your biggest challenge while you was in the joint. What was the hardest thing to overcome while you was in there?
I would have to say the hardest thing to overcome were my emotions.
Okay.
Explain. I remember, once we started messing with Chance for Life, they bring awareness. They bring awareness to the technical terms and the emotional states. But you know what? They were teaching us emotional intelligence. You know what I mean? And that was the first time I had ever learned how to deal with myself.
Mm-hmm.
They gave me the tools to do such. So I would say like the biggest struggle was
Was Transfer Life instrumental in your change?
Transfer Life was huge in my change.
It was?
They weren't only providing the programs, but they were providing the environment, the atmosphere. Remember, they had the units.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody wanted to get into a Chance for Life unit because all of the guys was respectful.
Yeah.
All of the guys were clean. All of the guys did their time. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Everybody knew how to jail, and there wasn't no confusion. Or if it was some confusion, then
It could get figured out.
Allowed the inmates to figure it out before, getting staff involved and stuff like that. So I like the idea of that.
And before it got violent. Like we got involved and we were able to control things and get things handled before they got violent more than anything.
Exactly. And I think it's like that's how they was able to teach the emotional intelligence, because they created an environment where everybody agreed to allow these hiccups or just these de-escalations.
Yeah, yeah.
They had set up pre-de-escalations in case an event happened.
Right.
And they made sure that everybody agreed to it.
Yeah.
So that's when you start to see like everybody ain't trying to rip each other head off. Some people really do want to reconcile a situation.
It ain't always about like drama and destruction and all of that.
Yeah.
So you've been home almost 7 years now. I usually like to preface when I start talking about penitentiary, like, this could be triggering, but I ain't even think about it because our conversation kind of flowed that easily. But now that we are able to kind of walk out of the penitentiary a little bit, what was parole like? How long you do parole? 2 years?
I did 2 years parole.
What was your biggest challenge on parole or in your reentry or whatever?
I didn't have one.
No?
Nope.
You had a smooth process?
Man, I was on STG parole.
What the hell is that? What that mean?
So remember, I gangbanged.
Yeah.
So anybody who could pose a potential threat and have, additional resources. So like, say for example, if you're on regular parole, then your agent just got to see everything that's going on with you in case you decide to abscond.
Right.
If you're on STG parole, not only can you utilize family as resources, but you can utilize brothers, other members as resources. So they require a little bit more stringent requirements. I got to drop more. I got to be seen more often.
Straight up?
Yeah, I'm getting popped up on.
Straight up?
Yeah, all the time. But the thing was that first off, shout out to my late pops. Because
Pops passed?
he passed.
Man, shout out to Pops. May he rest his soul.
Man, my father owned a custodial maintenance company, and that was the reason why I was able to parole and go right to work the next day.
Okay.
You know what I mean? He put me up on my feet, cleaning them toilets, and I was so proud to have a job.
Yeah.
Back into society. But I brought that up because.
Hey, what's one big? I know you looking for that thought, but like, what's one or a couple of the things that like you felt that's regular to regular people, but you felt extra accomplished or extra proud of doing?
I ain't never told nobody this, and this is crazy. I'll admit it. You know what my biggest issue was when I first came home?
What?
Remembering to lock the door.
Remembering to lock the door. That's actually not a strange issue.
I just could not.
Because doors lock automatically.
Yeah, where I come from.
Yeah,
you know
doors
what I mean?
lock automatically.
You never
So why
had to
am I
lock
locking the door? Yeah.
Locked automatically.
Yes, sir.
Right? So my wife, man, she used to chew me out all the time because she'd be like, man, you keep forgetting to lock the door.
Yeah.
It's the safety. Like, I shouldn't have to be worried about this kind of stuff. And being a man,
especially being a man, because it's like my job is to protect.
Like that's the only job I got.
I got is to protect y'all.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So when I was finally able to get that down, I was just like, I was super excited.
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean? Because it was creating a lot of headache in my life.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's good. That's good. One that I will pick out in recent times is I just recently signed my first lease. So we own a family home. My family owns a home, so that my name is on. I pay all the bills and all that. My mom lives in it though, right? And my mom lives in it for 6 months out the year. Then she goes to Texas and lives with my sister. But I have yet to have been able to sign a lease since I've been out of prison. Like either in Dallas when I was in Dallas or here in Michigan. Nobody would lease to me.
Oh, because you're a felon.
Yeah, like I got, my credit score is always good. I make enough money. Like I got the down payment and deposit and stuff, but it's always, I've even gotten as far as to almost get the damn keys. Mm-hmm. And then they call me back like on the day that I'm supposed to pick up the keys. Like, you know what? Something came up. We found X, Y. Like, bro, what that got to do with my ability to pay and be a, so one accomplishment that I recently had, which was literally just like not last week, it was the 1st of March. We signed our first lease, man. I was able to move my family into our first crib that is in my name, and I pay all the bills, and so I feel like a real man finally. I feel like I get to be the man of the house because, like, yeah, I paid the bills before, but it's my woman house, and it's in her name, and I can't really feel like the man of the house. I hear it, but y'all gonna hear the little vacuum in the background, but we can hear the audio. Like I told y'all, we are literally at a studio. So, you know, it's a little echo, but this is something that we deal with, you know what I mean? We getting through it, and the conversation is worthy of dealing with whatever. So I can hear you, the mic can hear you. We're going to put this through some mixing, mastering. Hopefully it takes out some of the background noise, but my listeners, y'all got to bear with me, man. We also got out the penitentiary. We all penitentiary guys, so, like, bear with us, right?
Man, and I almost forgot. We just found out yesterday that our expansion for our daycare just got approved.
Oh, for real?
Yes.
Yeah. That's hard. Yeah. That's hard.
We can have up to 12 children now per shift.
Oh, man, congratulations. Congratulations on that. So, me and you talked about it a little bit, but was this part of your plans? What were your plans when you got out, and how have you measured or been with your plans coming home? Because I still got my notebooks.
You remember when we were last incarcerated, I was real heavy into the music.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
That didn't go as planned. Are we able to stop for a second?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's stop.
Yeah, no, we ain't doing no tripping. I can edit it out or I can let it run. I ain't decided if I be editing stuff out. Since I ain't recording no video, I can probably just edit it out.
All right.
But yeah, so was this part of your plans coming home, or like, because like I said, I got all of my notebooks still from when I was in the joint, all the plans that I had. So like you was into the music thing. What did you do? What?
Life happened.
Yeah. Talk about it.
Like, as you know, me and my wife, we planned our first pregnancy. We got married 3 months after I came home.
Oh, for real?
Yep.
Okay.
And we conceived probably the day after I came home. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
And, man, our pregnancy, we already had she had a 3-year-old at the time. And our first pregnancy gave us a set of twins.
For real?
Yeah.
Oh, man, congratulations.
So we turned right around and tried for a boy so that we can, complete the family, and had another set of twins.
Damn.
Right back to back.
Back to back.
So as much as I
that's why you pulled up in that long sleeve.
Oh yeah, that's a necessity.
It ain't just for show.
Not even a flex. That's a necessity. That's the only thing that can fit all my kids.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. So life happened, man, and I realized real quick that as much as I loved music, it wouldn't. I needed something more immediate, and I think that's what made my relationship with my PO so good, because it was her. You know, she would ask me all the time, like, well, have you figured something else out? Because she knew I was working under the table with my dad.
Yeah.
You dig what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So she said I had to get a job, and she suggested truck driving to me, and I'm like, truck driving? That sounds like a sail on wheels. I know you get to see the
world, the
road,
country,
I
yeah.
can't stop. I got to deliver.
Yeah.
That's work.
That's work.
You know what I mean? But she told me that it seemed like it would fit my personality. That I seemed like I enjoyed being alone. I was like, you know what? Now that you kind of put it that way, I do.
Right.
So that's how I got off into truck driving.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So I started driving trucks. Eventually started my own company before, you know, COVID happened and everything,
Changed.
you know,
Yeah.
crashed and burned terribly. But what ended up happening is, if you remember when I was in prison and when I was doing Chance for Life, we had this program where we were mentoring the young guys who were just coming in.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I really loved doing that. You know what I mean? And being with Chance for Life, being able to teach the quick fires, you know, during count time.
I love those.
I loved it. Like, man, I remember like the first time I seen that, I'm like, this where the hell I'm supposed to be.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
This is where I'm supposed to be. So I always had a passion for teaching and educating and speaking. You know, whether it was with the gang banging, Nation of Islam, or Chance for Life. So me and my wife at the time were still just trying to figure this whole family thing out, because I was working and supporting the whole family.
Yeah.
And she was so accustomed to doing for herself before I came home that it was a huge adjustment for her to be a housewife, to sit
Right,
down.
right.
You know what I mean? Because she had always made her own money.
Yeah.
But she was taking care of the family, holding down the household. And we was getting by, man. But when COVID happened, it messed up everything. And I remember at the time, I was doing a lot of praying, a lot of meditating. And I came across something. It was probably like a podcast. And the guy said that if you're on the path, whatever obstructs your path becomes part of your journey. Like, you can't go around it. You got to go through it, because you're meant to go through it in order to complete the journey that you're on. So it seemed like our biggest issue every time we would try to make moves, and, you know, because we were serial entrepreneurs, but it was childcare. Because we had a lot of kids, and they had to be cared for. And you can't just be leaving your kids with anybody. And, you know, our parents, they working, still
So
trying
they
to pay
can't.
their bills.
So
and
they
got their
can't be the ones.
responsibilities.
Yeah.
So it just seemed like it always kept coming back to child care, until eventually my wife was like, you know what? I should just start a daycare. I know everybody would always ask her for advice, because they had like 1 kid or 2 kids or 3 kids, and they'd see her out with 5 of them. And you know, I gotta take you to the house. You can see how my kids move. They would not listen to nothing I say, but when that lady say get into formation, man, you'd have thought they was FOIs, bro.
Straight up.
Yeah.
Okay.
you know,
So it ain't just me, because I thought it was just me that was soft as hell. My kids do what they want to do, right? My fiance just told me yesterday, like, that boy be bossing you. My oldest boy. Whatever, man. Whatever you want, man.
Right. Hey, look, it'd be so funny how the conversation happened. It's always like you got to make them the op. Or you got to like, hey, man, like, you know, they get down on you, man. I just want to make sure you know that. I ain't trying to get in your business or nothing, but hey.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So, man, I got involved in the music business a little bit when I got out, but I kind of came to the same conclusion. I actually had some successes in the music business since I've been out, but what I came to the conclusion of is the money is a long-term play.
Yeah.
If you want to be involved in that, unless you come in with some money. Like, you got to come in, and when I say come in with some money, because I came in, like, I worked part of my transition was I came home and I had the same goal, music business and all that, Born Rich Entertainment. And I started the company and I built the company. But my first 3 years out, I just wanted to work a job. Just so that I could learn how to live, right?
Yeah.
Because I ain't even know how to, I left the streets without never having paid a bill before.
And you don't even realize that when you're preparing for it.
Bro, it took me at least 2 years before I realized how bills come. Because I would be like, man, I know I just paid the damn bills. Why the hell is it another bill? Yeah. Like, I didn't understand. Like, nigga, this bill come on the 22nd. This one come on the 3rd. This one on the 5th.
You got to get them all on the same cycle.
Yeah, like, I didn't understand. I was cooked. You hear me?
Every time you think you got some money, here come a bill.
Here come a bill. I was like, man, I don't want to do this, bro. I literally, so that's part of when we first started talking to you, was like, man, you caught me on the up. And I was like, well, I'm just getting back up. Part of it was that learning curve of coming home and having to figure money out and like how to spend money and pay bills. And like, I remember I got to the point where I was just like, man, there's too many bills coming and I don't even know where half of them coming from. Fuck this shit. And I just didn't pay nothing.
Man.
I lost a whole apartment like that.
I suffered a bankruptcy.
Straight up?
In 2020?
Yeah.
Yeah, the same year of COVID. I had to file for bankruptcy. It messed me up real bad. My trucking company crashed real bad.
Damn.
And my wife that I was telling you about that was biting at the bits to get back into the workforce, I wish I could take some credit for the blessings and man, the mercy that God been showing upon us, right?
Yeah.
But I can't. I tagged her into the game, man, and she just
Took off.
She just took off like I've been waiting for this opportunity.
I mean, but that's what having a partner is about, bro. Like
Man.
having somebody that can take off.
Yes.
Go, cause I ain't going right.
Yes.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's
So-
value.
She just been cooking up. She got the recipe, man.
Yes,
And,
sir.
Like that was a struggle too.
Yeah.
Marriage
Yeah.
to an ex-con.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the first few years, just learning how to sleep in the bed with somebody.
No
I used to
cap.
stay up all night. I couldn't sleep.
No
And I
cap.
didn't want to seem weird.
I slept defensively.
Yeah.
I slept like we were still in the cube, so I slept with my arm over my face and like, you know, that whole move. Like if you hit me, you're gonna have to hit me in a small space. You ain't gonna get clean face.
Or don't turn over and the missus try to big spoon you.
No.
You liable to get elbowed in
No
the face
cap.
accidentally.
Yes, sir.
Like,
Yes,
please.
sir. Yes,
I had
sir.
to tell my wife, like, I'm not trying to be funny. I love you dearly. I would never hurt you intentionally. But don't ever cuddle my back. Don't ever do that. Don't ever do
Don't ever cuddle my back. That's gonna be the quote that I use as the top of this as the description for this episode. Don't ever cuddle my back.
that. Don't ever cuddle my back.
Yes, sir.
I'm still getting accustomed to sharing the bed, man. You know, that's just automatic. If you felt something like, that ain't supposed to be there.
No, for sure. No, for sure. All right, bro. We coming to a close, man. I'm actually late for another meeting that I'm supposed to be at, but I ain't tripping because this conversation is really good, man. But it's a couple more questions that I wanted to ask before we take off, man. One of them, so I mention these brothers all the time. They're gonna have to pay me or something because I bring these brothers' podcasts up every episode of my podcast. But a lot of the inspiration for what I do right now came from Gillian Wallow and the $1 million worth of game podcast, right? And they got a thing that they say, Wallow actually, I believe it is, came up with is guidance, attention, motivation, and education. Game, right? Free game. So I like to ask the brothers and people that come on the show, like, what type of free game can you give to my listening audience, to maybe somebody who's paying attention that make, you know?
Oh, man. My free game would be, as cliche as it may sound, you can literally be whoever you want to be. Your biggest obstacle to becoming that is going to be you. It's going to be how much you buy into it. Not how much you can get other people to buy into it. How much do you buy into it?
Yes,
Because
sir.
it took me forever to understand that people are gonna see me how I see myself. That's what I'm projecting. So if I project my fears and insecurities, that's what they're gonna see me as. But if I present my goals, my work ethic, not necessarily my accomplishments, but everything that I embody, everything that I'm concerned with. You know what I mean? So that's for the most part. You can be whoever you want to be. Just believe in yourself.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, for sure. Self-motivation is the key. The next question is, what should we be paying attention to in the fight to end mass incarceration in Michigan? What's your perspective on that?
I would say you want to pay attention to what you're paying attention to. And the reason I say that is because I think it go over a lot of people's head when you tell them to pay attention. I don't think they realize just how valuable attention is. I don't think they see their attention as a form of currency.
Yes, sir.
It's a form of exchange. So pay attention to what you're paying attention to, because we tend to take in a lot of distractions. We take in a lot of distractions, and then we always the last to find out
Yes, sir.
because we just wasn't paying attention. So it's not enough just to be aware. It's that it takes changing your lifestyle, what you consume, because a lot of the stuff that you consume is programming you or conditioning you to perceive things a particular way. You may be watching it for entertainment, but if you've never been exposed to this situation and your brain can't tell the difference between reality and a perceived reality, right? Then you accumulating data thinking that you know how to operate the situation that you never even experienced in real life.
That's real.
So all of our beliefs and stigmas and the way that we, view the world has been procured to us. We don't really know. We just think we know because what we've been exposed to, but we don't even know what we've been exposed to is true.
Man.
You see what I'm saying?
Man, it's like the whole idea. You ever had that thought about like, am I living in a dream and somebody could wake up right now?
I do.
That's what that kind of felt like when you was just breaking it down, like that dream that you feel like I'm in a dream living, and if somebody wakes up, all of this goes away.
I honestly feel like that every day. I feel like a lot of conceptions that we've adopted are merely just illusions. Illusions. And you don't know what's real until it's time to challenge what you thought you believed in.
Right?
And I don't think, I feel like a lot of people don't even know what they think.
They believe in.
They just going from moment to moment to moment. They're not collecting or compiling or archiving the data and going over it.
No. Ain't no analysis. What is it? Self-examination, self-analysis, and self-correction. The
Yeah.
3 stages of raising yourself from the dead.
It is, yeah. Man, so yeah.
Last question. What's the best part about being home?
The best part about being home is having the autonomy to direct my life.
Yes, sir.
Knowing that every single decision that I make is what's crafting my tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
Or the level that I even perceive it from. So it's like just being able to have a say in how my day go, how does life go. You know what I mean? How your life go.
Yeah.
Sharing experiences and just being able to
Live.
witness this. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
Like, yeah.
Yes, sir. I appreciate that, and I don't disagree at all, 100%, man. Just the ability to be. somebody else broke it down like that as well. Like, man, just being able to be who I am. Like, whatever, because I have the choice out here. With that said, man, I appreciate this conversation, brother. I appreciate y'all for listening. Free to real, 17 winners.